So for the next 2 hours, we're going to be cruising around this upper Waterton Lake, looking directly in front of us. That's where we're headed today, down to the south end of this upper Waterton Lake. And down at that south end, there's a backcountry ranger station called Waterton, Montana. Now, we're not permitted to land down there at this time of the year just because that is their official port of entry into the United States. So they've closed that up for the season here. So it's only open from June till about the end of September there. So we'll just be cruising through that bay on the south end of the lake there. Now, just looking off our right-hand side, those 2 yellow markers that we rounded, those are indicating the sandbar in the Waterton Marina there. You might be able to pick out the different color to the water there. So it does get extremely shallow in between those 2 points. We'll even see people walking right up to that first marker there during our summer months. And just looking a little bit behind us off our left-hand side here, back through this channel, you'll see those green and red-colored buoys or markers floating. That right there marking the entrance to Middle Waterton Lake. And I mentioned we're cruising along the upper lake today. The Waterton Lakes chain consists of 3 different lakes. Before we get going too far here, life jackets for everyone on board. The majority of them stored below our feet in these 4 compartments. Now for the folks on the upper deck, there's a locker right at the front there, that little cubby hole, all life jackets stored up there. We're only allowed 20 people on that upper deck at once, so do us a favor, help us out with that. But you're more than welcome to head on up there, catch a few photographs, and then come on back down. Might be kind of nice up there right now with this north breeze blowing. We do have 4 life rings on that upper deck. This boat here fully equipped with firefighting and first aid equipment. And those 2 big white barrels that you may have noticed on the back of the upper deck, those are inflatable platforms. Each one of those capable of carrying 75 people. So in the unlikely event that this vessel were to go under, we would deploy those, get all of you folks safely on board, and then of course continue on with this tour. Everyone to get their money's worth after all today. Now you do have a crew of 3 on board here today. Your first mate standing at the back there, that's Ed, he's the boss. He'll give you a big wave. So if you have any questions, right around 220 feet. And the recorded deep spot's about 487 feet, making this arguably the deepest lake in the Canadian Rockies, depending on who you talk to there. You will notice how close we'll be able to get to shoreline throughout the trip today. And in most cases, if you were along that shoreline, you were to take a few hops, a skip, and maybe a jump as well. You'd be well over your head in water. Now, there are a few cliffy sections around the lake, which I'll point out today, where the water drops off almost instantly. And you can be within 3 feet from some of these cliff walls, over 87 feet deep in water. Vertical there. I'll point those out, as well as that deep spot.
Make sure that we need the mountains in the back, okay?
Now, talking about the Middle Waterton Lake, average depth out there right about 90 feet. A little bit shallower. The Middle Lake, one more, the calmest of the 3. But during our summer months, that's where we'll usually get swells on this upper Waterton Lake. So very consistently windy area. And they actually used to host windsurfing competitions out here, primarily back in the 1980s. They did stop hosting those a while back, just because every now and then we will get extremely calm days out here, but those are pretty rare to come by.
Why?
Now, temperature-wise, right at the end of August was our last time we took a surface reading, but it was about 13 degrees Celsius. So even right then, right in the hottest time of the summer, still very cold. And this lake here, glacier fed. We do consider this an anti-drowning lake. It's impossible to drown out here. You will freeze to death before you have a chance to drown. Just looking at that Waterton town site here once again, behind us on the shoreline there, that's a town site built on an alluvial fan, also known as a floodplain. So we have had a number of major floods occur in that town site area. Now the worst one, 1964. The last major flood was 1995. And where you folks bought your tickets for the cruise this afternoon, the water was a few inches above the doorknob on that building. So very high water conditions then. That entire main street in town flooded right out. And there were even people altitude here is about 4,200 feet.
This feels good. Mama,
the highest point in Waterton Lakes National Park is known as Mount Blackiston. And we can't actually see that one from the lake here. That's out towards Red Rock Canyon, one of the park's scenic drives. At the elevation of Mount Blackiston, right around 9,600 feet. And the highest mountain in Glacier National Park, both parks for that matter, is known as Mount Cleveland. And that's in about the 9 or 10 o'clock position here. I'll point it out a little later on in the trip as well. It's easier for everyone to see the tall tower and triangular shaped mountain. That's that Mount Cleveland. So might be able to pick out the marker there at the bottom and one on the top of that mountain as well. So that's definitely one of the most scenic mountains here in the park. The old-timers in this area, they call that Old Sawtooth Mountain, and the traditional native name for that mountain was Atunoxis, which translates roughly to the needles in the sky, so a very descriptive name there as well. Point out here as well, almost directly ahead of us, back through this U-shaped valley. That mountain in the background there, that's one of the other mountains that has retained its traditional native name. That's known as Mount Mishiwabin, and that translates roughly to beautiful morning. So again, another descriptive name.